Hello, welcome to Chatter 15 Minutes of Fame. I am one of your hosts, Claron Sharif, and my twin, Miss Fabulous herself, Danielle Ward.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. No complaints.
Good, good. So, before we get started, I've got a quick forgot to mention. In our past episode, Don't Do Dumb Shit, we talked about headshots and walking in that audition and making sure that you look like that headshot. Now, there is an exception if you change your look. Sometimes we do things in between and it may require us to change our look, or maybe you just decided to do something different. Make sure that you let your agent know and the casting director know, hey, I've changed my look. Send him a selfie. They probably will ask for a selfie. So, just that quick tip, forgot to mention. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. So, today's topic is pet peeves, our personal pet peeves. The dumb shit that people do, I guess. maybe maybe we should make that part of that segment, right?
You like more dumb shit?
um, those sometimes we do things to get on people's nerves that drive us crazy and we complain about it, but we're going to try and offer some solutions in between. Or maybe seeing it on the flip side from the other person's point of view, yeah?
I'm only going to offer petty advice. Kidding. I got petty today.
So, my first pet peeve is grocery carts in the grocery store, right? Hmm. I hate it when I come in or I'm returning a cart after dumping, my groceries into my car. And you go to the port or in the store and there's no alignment, there's no organization, no form, nothing. Carts are just everywhere. Well, that's not how you found it in the first place, right? Put the damn cart back. That's why they put, I think well, I'm pretty sure the reason that they put those little ports out on the parking lot so that you don't have to walk all the way back to the grocery store to carry your cart in. Sometimes people will say, hey, do you need that cart? I could use a cart. Great. They take it back in and use it, whatever. Um, but it's really annoying, and I'm sure it's annoying for the grocery clerks to come back to a bunch of carts not aligned, not in two rows. And I've done this. I've cleaned up other people's messes, which I don't like to do, and it was voluntary. I didn't have to do it, but it was getting on my nerves. I figured, why not be a part of the solution and not the problem, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Put the card in, line them up, and then they're kind of heavy to move. So and some days I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm not doing it. So put the cars back and make it easy on your local grocery clerks, because that's a hard job to gather up all those carts and bring them back in. Everybody's happy, right?
That is so Virgo.
Yes. Hello. So, what's your number one pet peeve?
Mm. My number one pet peeve is cutting someone off while they are speaking.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
Uh,
So you mean like if I cut you off right
yeah,
now?
yes. Before I'm even done with my thought. Yes, exactly. And then you pick up the conversation and then like take it far, far away. And I don't even know what we was talking about to begin with. Yeah, that.
Right.
And so story time. This
Yes.
particular story, this has been several months ago. I was hanging out with someone and we haven't hung out since, but we were driving around. We had parked and I don't know, this joke came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, this is funny. This is clever because there was like a double entendre in there. And I was like, about to work this joke, right? So I start telling the joke. And I got like the first sentence, and she goes, "Oh," and she repeats one of the words, and she's like, "That means such and such," and she's like giving me the definition of the word that I just used, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I was like, "Does she think I don't know the word that I just used?" But she'll never know because I never got to finish my witty ass joke, which I didn't appreciate because at that time, I was just mad. So I was like, "Okay, I'm never hanging out again ever with this person." But I notice, and I do see this person um, sometimes, but I notice that she doesn't do that with everyone. She does cut people off a lot, but I notice the people that she doesn't do that to, I think, are people she probably respects, that she might think of, as being on a
Interesting.
different level. I
Interesting.
did notice that. And by the time all that happens, I just don't have the energy to have any kind of conversation anymore because I know nothing I say, like my thoughts will never be able to come to completion
Mhm.
because somebody else she's gonna change the subject or she's gonna jump right in there and do blah 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 blah. And I don't know if people really realize it. But one thing, this is what I'm gonna implement. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start saying something like, "Oh wait, I didn't finish my thought," or like, "Hold on, I'm not done," because I think if you do that enough, they'll probably be like, "Oh, I am rude. I do this a lot,"
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know. So that might give them a way to course correct instead of saying "shut the up" or something, you know. But yeah, I don't know. But then it's like, how do you learn that skill? Like, how do you?
I guess it would take practice, you know?
Yeah.
I say I'm gonna do something and then I'll forget to do it, and then I'm sitting there like I really want to pop this person.
Hmm.
Or you could do, a Jennifer Lewis little girl. We're gonna have to have a
A little
conversation.
more, little girl, like that. And they'll be like, Danielle belittled me. She called me a little girl.
I just had a thought. Maybe, maybe she feels threatened by you because Danielle, you do have a very extended, articulate vocabulary. Maybe that bothers her. Maybe she feels like she's in competition with you. It's possible.
That thought never crossed my mind.
Mhm.
Huh.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. I did not think about
I was
that
just
at
sitting here
all.
thinking, I'm like, I wonder if it's possible. Maybe
Hmm.
it's possible. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, were
Back to
you
you. Nope.
okay? So, second pet peeve for me, when people ask you, "Do you work here?" And I try to look at things from the other side. You know, maybe there's something in the setting, in the work setting, that may throw them off, and they think, "Well, gosh, am I in the right spot? Let me ask." I have two situations, and I have a solution, and you can't get fired. So, this lady came through one day, and she asked, "Do you work here?" And so in my mind, I'm thinking, "Really?" I said, "Clara, pull it together." And this people have been asking me that before too, and I had just about had enough. So I said, "No, how can I help you?" And it threw her off. Like, you can't complain to my boss because I did offer to help you. I was being sarcastic, but you can't do nothing about it. Just grinds my gears. So I guess I'm pretty sure I answered her question and got her what she needed. Took
Okay.
care of her.
Okay.
The second one, young man came through. "Do you work here?" "Oh, again?" I said, "Okay. No, I do not. But can I help you?" Then he really put his foot in his mouth, right? but your name tag. Ah, my name tag. My name says name of where I work, and yes, so obviously, sir, I work here, right? But I didn't say all that. He said, I said you read my name tag. That should tell you something. Yeah, but I said, what can I do for you?
How old was this young man?
He had to be in his early 20s.
Okay. Okay.
Early 20s. I said, okay, I'm gonna give you some grace.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just okay. But yeah, don't do that. My daughter will call me up. Shout out to my daughter Peggy. She'll call me up, and it grinds my gears. Do you work here? It's like no, no, no. She caught me off guard a couple of times, and then I'll look on the caller ID. Yeah, nice try. No, I don't work here. Click, hanging up. We get a big kick out of that. But yeah, what's your next pet peeve?
My next pet peeve is, and I know y'all gonna be like, Danielle, because it's all communication based and they're very similar. But correcting someone constantly when they haven't even finished their thought. Uh, and a lot of times, if people may mispronounce a word
Mhm.
or maybe use it incorrectly, they're trying to make a point. And even though, and this is my opinion, the gracious thing to do is like just listen to what they're trying to say
Right,
to
right.
get the gist and practice active listening skills instead of trying to find some fault there.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
because again, someone, and this is where I go petty Betty, petty officer Ward. Um, I was having a conversation with someone and I said something. It was like the big, I think it was the solar eclipse. And
Mhm,
I think I said eclipse, but I
mhm.
put the emphasis on a different part of the word. And she's like, that's not how you say it. You say eclipse. You say eclipse. And I was like, you mean to tell me you don't think anybody's going to know what I'm referencing, regardless of where I put the emphasis, eclipse or eclipse. And
Yes.
she's like, but it's this. And she Googled the pronunciation and all that. So I was like, eclipse, 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 eclipse. And she was like, so now I intentionally mispronounce words or do something like that just to watch her scramble to give me the correct pronunciation. I do that and she hasn't caught on yet. She hasn't caught on yet.
Oh my gosh.
It's fun to me now. It's fun. And I don't know if because there are other people that I come in contact with that do that, and I'm just observing a conversation and I'm noticing how, the other person is being cut off because they're like, "Oh no, you say it like this or this and that." I'm like, just practice active listening and just hear that person out. Because if it's not important,
Mhm,
if it's not like a speech, if that someone's going to be delivering, it's
mhm.
really not gonna be that important. You of course you wanna stop somebody if they're gonna be speaking in front of a group and say, "Hey, I think this might be the correct way to say this," just because you don't want them to go out there and lose credibility, maybe, stuff like that. But just
Yes,
a regular conversation,
yes.
it's not necessary. It's not necessary.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Um, so my third pet peeve, and trust and believe we have many more, but we have 15 minutes of fame, right? Um, a big one is when I see children, babies, maybe between the ages of a couple of months to 2, 4, 5 years old with no shoes on their feet. That drives me crazy. I'm like, that's a safety hazard right there. Granted, I'm sure you're not going to let your child walk through a bunch of glass, but also taking into consideration that there are germ factors going on here. And then you're bringing that into your home. We all bring it into our homes because we have shoes on. I take my shoes off at the door. But, they could get cut, they could step on a rock, mess up their little feet. And I get it. Some kids don't like to wear shoes because they don't like the way it feels. But it's a question of, well, who's the parent and who's the child here? Then don't take them to the grocery store. But at some point in time, they're gonna have to put on some shoes, right? And it's just, oh my God, don't do that. Stop it. Grinds my gears.
Yeah. Or
But
like it's cold and the baby don't have a hat on, or
oh, they let them come out in their clothes. I've seen kids in sub-zero weather. The parents all bundled up in some cases, but the kid, I'm like, well, I don't want to wear a coat. Listen,
that's not how this works.
right? No, you putting on a coat or you stay home. You know, I get it, but that's not it's not good, especially with all these different things we got going on now, especially with COVID,
Hmm.
different variants. Uh, yeah. Anyhow, but what's your third pet peeve?
My third pet peeve is when people monopolize the conversation by only talking about themselves,
Mm.
like it's a lecture that you will never get class credits for. I I was hanging out with an acquaintance and she was like, "I want you to meet my mom," and I was like, "Okay, whatever."
Mhm.
So I go over and we're like getting acquainted, we're chatting and everything like that. And then she pulls out, I'm probably gonna sound like an asshole, but she pulled out her phone, and I promise the whole time I was there, which was a couple hours, she's showing me like selfies of herself. Like all the pictures she was showing me was strictly of herself, not like trips or like beautiful things or this and that and this and that. Selfies of herself and certain, relationships that she had been involved in,
Mhm.
unsolicited. Like I didn't ask, I didn't ask for any of this. I ain't asked. And I was like, so I have this whole dialogue, this internal dialogue going on the whole time. Like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, is this and how to plan my escape? Because I'm like, she can't think this is enjoyable for me. And then I was like, she probably don't care that it's not enjoyable to me. Like, all these things are going through my head. Um, but I think sometimes there are different factors. I think some people are just not self-aware enough to realize that they are completely dominating. But
Mhm.
then on the flip side, I think that's exactly what people intend to do.
Mhm.
Um, Not all the time, but a lot of times I do think it's ego driven. Or sometimes competition driven. And you don't even know you in competition. Like you don't even realize it.
Right.
You just like, how do I fight my way out of this situation? Uh, and I don't know. I was trying to think about like solutions, but people that do this, if audience members, if you recognize that, you know what, I don't let people talk. I do um, monopolize the conversation. Maybe ask the person about their day or how's your dog? How are your kids or something because a conversation is a two-way street.
It is.
Nobody likes to be talked at.
Right.
It's got to be, you know,
Or, hey, do you mind? I've got some selfies. I'd really like to show you. Are you okay with that?
hell
Okay.
no. And then let that person be. Let them be. Just let them be. Because I promise, if this is you, somebody out there, people hate to see you coming. If you do it all the time, because sometimes we have stuff on our mind that we want to talk about. I don't mean situations like that, where you think it's a situation where you got things going on, but if each and every time you're with a group of people or one of your friends or family members, and the entire time is
Mm.
spent with you talking about yourself, I promise you they are picturing themselves jumping off the tallest building they can find. I promise that's what's happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So are we at time?
Yes.
Okay. So
Your turn.
we just come to the end of our show. So please put some questions, comments. We do have one comment we need to respond to. We'll talk about that in our meeting. My dear friend Vivian put on one of our episodes, so we want to address that. So we will address it. So please comment, like us, love us, subscribe. And until then, we will see you next time on an episode of Chatter 15 Minutes of Fame.
Boo boy.